Hey, Jaden and Raya. Let's see, I'm trying something new. So, first of all, thank you guys so much for listening to me and initiating the dialogue we had last night. Um, there's nothing more important in my mind than the conversations that we touched on last night. And I feel a little bit um, burdened, I guess is the right word, that. That those kind of opportunities happen so rarely because they are so important. And I just wanted to say a couple things and then plant some seeds in your guys' mind to think about. And this will probably be a little bit longer than I'm intending, what I hope is more of these to come. But number one, I want to just affirm to you guys the importance of the kind of questions that you're asking. And so I am more encouraged by thoughtfully expressing doubts than I am in apathy, not even dealing with it. So I would rather have conversations about it and walk away with questions still unanswered than to not have the conversations at all. And ultimately, I really do, part of what is embedded in my faith is that God will use these things to help us think through it and ultimately come to that that acknowledgement of who he is and his reality, whether or not we get exactly the answer that we demand. And there's so much to say on that. That's why I'm a little bit befuddled here, because I could go down a rabbit trail with like, well, let's look at the book of Job, right? This is the entire story of the book of Job, where he's like wrestling with exactly the same kind of questions that we were talking about last night. And God's answer is, on the one hand, like so profound, but on the other hand, kind of leaves us hanging because he doesn't answer precisely the direct question we're asking. Instead, he answers a bigger question, and it's that answer that really breaks through to Job. So I'm going down the rabbit hole that I said I wouldn't. I would say too that one of the takeaways, as I was thinking about it driving back, and as I'm thinking about it this morning, this is Father's Day, by the way, so I feel entitled to bombard you with this because it's your gift to me, both as my natural offspring, Jaden, but also I feel like, Raya, I've earned the privilege of being in some ways a stepfather of some sort because, you slept on our couch for about 3 years or something like that. And it was a privilege. And so I consider you a daughter, if not by blood, by relationship. So everything I say is in light of the love of a father to his children. And it's just a really small reflection of the love of our Father in heaven towards us, his children. So that's the spirit in which I'm hoping to communicate here. And again, I confess that this will be a little bit of a rambling, simply because I have so much that I think I want to say, but I don't want to take the whole time in this video to say it all. Let me say the main thing that inspired me is, just as you guys have questions about, did God, that ultimately boil down to questions like, did God really say? Or is God really good? Or, those are really the questions that we ask. And just like you guys, I have similar questions. So you might say, well, I thought Ben had it all figured out, and he's an apologist, and he goes around and gives answers to these questions all around the world. And so you might have the mistaken impression that, well, Ben doesn't have any questions. He's all full of answers. And that couldn't be further from the truth. And I guess what happens in the life of a Christian, and I can speak because I am a Christian and I've been through that life, is that we don't run out of questions, but we address those questions from a position of faith, in a position of we've had enough answers that give us that solid grounding that we say, well, I know it's true. My questions are more like, so in light of that truth, why is such and such happening? Or why does God do this? Or did God really say? It's not questions of rejecting the overall story. It's more questions of how do I work in the details. So for me, the question that has been on my mind is just like you would ask the question, well, why does God allow evil? Or why does God allow babies to die? Or whatever the thing is that we ask. One of my questions is, why does God allow the young people in my life to either walk away from the faith that I thought they had, or have like such serious doubts, or that they would they're poised to walk away? And this isn't just happening with you. It's endemic. And so my question is, wait, God, why are you allowing this to happen? Why are you allowing these doubts to derail these young people? And so I asked that kind of question. And the answer to me came fairly clearly, and it's a reminder to me that in many ways, and this is a personal application of a bigger problem, is that in my zeal to go and give answers to the next generation as far away as I can get from here in my hometown of Oregon City, I am, and this is a good thing. So, right, I am seeking to raise Christian defenders globally. That's the whole thing about AOM. And it's a great thing. And I love what I'm doing. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. But I'm realizing that globally doesn't mean just like to the far reaches of the earth. And, it's interesting if you kind of pinpoint Western Uganda where all this happens. That's about as far away as you can get. But, God, through his Spirit speaking into my life, said, well, globally also means locally. So globally means the entire world. So I feel like, I've really neglected the home base. And so, for instance, I reflect back and I'm thinking, well, Jaden and Sion, my kids and the kids around, surely picked up all these answers just by osmosis, right? And I sit back and I think, well, wait, how often have I had the opportunity to really have these conversations with my own kids and their friends and whatnot? And it's like, wow, this is really rare, which is why I treasure so much just the beginning of the conversation last night. And it's like, wow, it's so easy to go about life being occupied by other good things, either our work or, whatever we're pursuing, even going to church or all these things, and you can kind of neglect some of the most important things. So that was a wake-up call for me to say, gee, Ben, you talk a lot about raising up Christian defenders globally, but you haven't done it here at your own home. And so, not that I'm calling you guys to follow in my footsteps as apologists, but what the questions you're asking are ones that ought to be asked and need to have good answers. So where am I in in being part of that. And I feel like I've neglected that really critical fatherly privilege. So I want to correct that, and I hope you guys are, on board with me on that. So that's the first thing. I just want to thank you guys on this Father's Day for being a vehicle for God to speak into my life to say, hey, Ben, you probably ought to spend more of your time, we're commanded to preach the gospel in a certain order. It's in Jerusalem, to Judea and Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. And this is a pattern. This is the Great Commission. And the metaphor there is start at home, go to your surrounding regions, and then go to the ends of the world. And I think I've kind of done I forgot about Jerusalem, went straight to Judea and Samaria in my efforts here in the Pacific Northwest, and then leapfrogged all the way to the ends of the earth and neglected Jerusalem, which is my home. So so that was part of the answer, is just God's Spirit revealing to me that truth. The other part of the answer was, this is a great privilege because I need to work on how to best give a response to the questions that you guys started raising last night. And there are many of them, and I can't answer them in quick little sound bites. I can't, but I can do a much better job of trying my best to communicate God's truth in response to those good questions in a way that connects and is relevant to your guys' lives. So I think I have this great privilege, and I'm hoping that this is the beginning of trying to take advantage, trying to steward that opportunity. Kind of what I'm proposing to do, because it is hard in our busy lives to get together. So what I propose to do, and I'd love your guys' feedback, and again, I confess this first video is really long-winded, so I'm hoping you're bearing with me, is to, instead of trying to organize our schedules to meet up, and we're going to meet every week, and we're going to deal with this and that and the other thing in person, because I just have a feeling that with kids, with jobs, with this and that, that probably won't. Maybe we'll start valiantly, but it'll peter out. Instead, what I like to do is kill a bunch of birds with one stone, because the questions you guys are asking are the very same questions that your generation in Uganda and Zimbabwe and South Africa and Croatia and Albania and Brazil, you're all asking the same questions. I mean, I can't tell you how, often it's like the number one question: why does God allow evil? And I think that if we can get into a dialogue where you guys can ask questions, challenge me, it will, and those questions will provoke me to try and give good, relevant, succinct answers, or at least responses. I'm going to start calling them responses, because they only become answers when they persuade you. Until then, they're just a response. And so I'll give responses, and I'd like to do it in a format kind of like this, where I can just talk to the camera. And my ulterior motive is that I'd like to use your questions and the opportunity it affords for me to answer respond to your questions here at home, that I can capture those, and it can be part of a growing library of content that then I can share with others, because part of what I believe is the Christian call is stewardship. It's a fundamental principle that Scripture calls us to do, and stewardship is making the best use of what we've been given. And so one of those things that is so precious is time, and time flits away, and being able to take a certain amount of time and have it impact, have the most impact, is a great opportunity we have with this technology. So I have the privilege of being able to address and respond to your questions, but leverage that to give those responses to whoever tunes in the world. And so anyway, that's kind of my proposal is you guys give me questions and voice doubts and concerns, and you can do that just by texting me. I mean, say, hey, Ben, this is where I'm really struggling. Why does God allow evil? Why does God seem to condone slavery? Why is the Bible full of errors? Why, how can we truly believe that miracles exist in the light of science? And isn't Christianity just another human construct amongst all the other constructs? I mean, these are all quick questions. You can just text me, and those will give me, and I guarantee you, the amazing thing is that what's troubling you and concerning you is troubling every one of your generation. Every one of us. It troubles me. It has troubled me in the past, which is why I was so unbelievably excited when I discovered this whole thing about apologetics, is that it is a great thing to do, and it's a worthy thing to do, to ask those questions and to seek responses. And for me, they've become great answers. So, and then I'll take your questions, doubts, and concerns, and I'll try to thoughtfully respond to them as succinctly and relevantly, with life impact as I can, just in short little video clips. And my intent is to share those responses with the other people, not just here at home in Jerusalem, so to speak, but to the ends of the earth. So I hope that all makes sense, and I hope that you guys are as excited as I am about committing a bit of our time, a bit of our life, stewarding the time that God has given us to pay attention, and not be content living apathetically without addressing these questions. Okay? So, so that's what God spoke to into my heart when I asked the question, God, why are you allowing my son to wander from you? Why are you allowing his generation? And the statistics are about 75% of young people who grew up in the church, who grew up in Christian families, as they reach your age and move from being under the umbrella of their parents, end up walking away from their relationship with Jesus. And that can break a father's heart, a human father's heart, and it can break our Heavenly Father's heart. So, and yet it is something that God allows. So the answer to me was, hey, you have more great opportunity, Ben, that you need to be doing. And you need to include in your focus of raising Christian defenders globally to include your home base. So that's what I'd like to do. And I think done well, it will serve both you guys, but it'll serve a huge audience that is growing. And so that's the intent. Okay. Now, practically, I'll need some help from you guys to know like how to do this best. I'm thinking it's going to be the short form videos that are just like this, me talking directly into the camera, not scripted. Hopefully I'll do a little bit of background so I'm not rambling as much as I am on this, and be able to succinctly address and provide a response to those things for you guys to think about. And so I would post those. I think what I'd like to do is create a new social media presence that is restricted to an audience first of just you guys, but that we can invite more people in to follow and to reflect on. And I'm thinking that it's in the comments area that that people can respond to what I'm saying, and then that can become an ongoing conversation. So I'm not sure. I wish I was more savvy on the platforms that we have. So maybe what you guys could do, in addition to asking the questions that are burning on your souls, is help me to refine the mode at which this happens. What is the right platform? How should I structure it that is most likely to be engaging not only to you guys, but also to a growing audience of people who are seriously having these thoughts and conversations and seeking to find the truth. So is that Facebook? Is that Instagram? I hope it's not TikTok, but I'm open to anything. Help me. So number one, it needs to be a platform where I can just, create a community that's small at first, that grows. Create a community where I can pose the questions that you guys ask, and then I can try and address them. And then in the comments, there can be an ongoing dialogue. So to me, that's Facebook. Creating a Facebook page or something, but maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's both, but you guys tell me. Okay. All right, this is now 23 minutes. I hope you've been able to I haven't taxed your attention too much, but I will circle back asking you guys to help on those two things. Number one, well, I guess the first question is, are you willing to be part of this? I hope so. Number two is, start feeding me some questions. And I mean, if we do one question a week, that'll be enough. If we do one question a day, that'll be great. That's probably more than I can even dream of addressing. It shouldn't be that hard to do one a week. And if you think about it, over the course of a year, that's 52. That's 52 big ticket items that can be, we can have a conversation about. So that's the number two thing. Ask the questions. Just text me. Number three is, as I start this up, help me to do it in a way using the technology that you guys use, and help me better craft the platform to use and the mode in which to do it. Okay. And the last thing I'll say is expect it to be lo-fi production. It's going to be just like this. It's usually going to be in the morning, which is when I feel most capable of thinking through these things. It's right after I have my coffee. I'm just going to sit in this chair, and my hair is going to be messy. I'm going to wear my jammies, but that's the way it's going to work for me. So, all right. Love you both so much. And thank you for a great Father's Day already. This is exactly the kind of gift that speaks my love language. So, yeah. All right. Look forward to what you have to say. All right. God bless you both.